Yo, what up, dogs? Last week, I went and saw Elemental, and I went and saw it on Thursday at 3:50. I didn't want to see it in 3D because that was like the 6 o'clock show, and plus, I don't watch movies in 3D, so I went and saw it in good old-fashioned standard def. And I'll be honest with you, there was only 5 of us in total in the entire theater. It was me, a couple that was say 25-year-olds, and a grandma with her granddaughter. And let's say she's 6 or 7. And this kid was not engaged at all. She asked so many questions to the point where the grandma had to move through the back of the theater because the kid was just so talkative. She was not engaged. But I'll be honest with you, this movie is okay. That's the best way to describe it. This is not a movie that you have never seen before. This is not a new idea. It's a rom-com. This is exactly what I would call it, a rom-com. And it's not even a good rom-com. It's just an okay rom-com. And it's missing on the calm part. You know what I'm saying? The comedy aspect. I think I laughed once in this movie. Once. But let's get into it. It's only an hour and 49-minute long movie. Let's talk about it, okay? So it's directed by Peter Sohn. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The movie he did last was The Good Dinosaur, and that is a film that I did not see. And I'm going to ask you guys, do you think I should watch The Good Dinosaur? Leave it in the comments, and if you give me enough yeses, I'll throw it up on Disney Plus. I'll check a look at it. But it was one I missed. Don't really hear many people ever talk about it, so maybe I'm missing nothing. But that's what he last directed, and he did this movie. And like I said, this is a rom-com. It's okay. And the best thing about this movie, there's a couple good things I liked about this movie. I really liked the animation. First and foremost, the animation was really, really nice. And it just looked cool. Like, it's not like Enter the Spider-Verse animations at all. But this is just nice, crisp, Pixar style of animation, and I liked it. It's not. I think Spider-Verse is way better animation wise, more creative risks, and just more creative animately. Is that even a word? I don't think that is. But you know what I'm talking about. So this film takes place in a fictional city. I don't even remember what it's called, like Elementalopolis. It's a place where all the elements gather in this world. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, the world building had me a little interested in how everything works in this universe. And at the very beginning, I was kind of like, are there different nations in this world, or does everyone just live here? But then as the story unfolds a little bit, you learn about Ember, who is played by Leah Lewis, and her family. Her father is Bernie, played by Ronnie Del Carmen, and her mother, Cinder, played by Shila Ommi. And Bernie and Cinder are immigrants from, I'm going to say, the Fire Nation, and they come to Elementalopolis, which I know that's not the right name, but that's where they go, and they're immigrants. So this movie has a certain immigrant story to it. Actually, not a certain, it is an immigrant story. And as they come to this town as new immigrants, they find that they're not really accepted in this new world. And the course of the movie actually kind of shows segregation to a degree of, like, the fire people are over here while the rest of this city is actually really relatively well integrated together between the earth, water, and air elements. So the fire people are kind of off on their own and often looked at as dangerous and disregarded because there's other scenes in this movie where they're not allowed to go. So they show segregation. There is one scene in particular where Ember, when she was a child, isn't allowed to enter this like expo for plants because they're fire people and they could burn everything down. And it actually has a big sign that says no fire allowed. And it's kind of like, okay, are we, why, I'm watching a kids movie here. Why are we tackling segregation right now? Like, what's going on here? What is the message of this film? And then throughout the movie, as we learn about Bernie and Cinder and Ember and their life in this new city, there is actual like racist remarks in a sense towards the fire people. Like there's an instance where Bernie like bumps into someone, let's say a cloud person, and he's like, "Watch it, Sparky," or like, and it's like that's a derogatory term towards fire people, and the fire people have derogatory terms towards everybody else too. It's really weird that they added these elements in here, but I kind of get it where it's like you are telling an immigrant story here, and how do they fit in this new world that they initially don't belong in. And there is comments made in this movie from Ember where she says like, this city isn't made for us, and it really isn't. When you actually look at the integration of the fire people into the city, really isn't happening. And the main thing is there's a subway or a rail car that goes through, I guess we'll call it Emberville. This is where all the fire people hang out. Or I guess in this instance it'd be like Little Ember Town. Like I'm almost certain that the fire people are supposed to be Chinese immigrants or maybe even Mexican immigrants. Like that type of, like that's the idea that they're putting out there. And in this big metropolis, I'm assuming that this is their version of Chinatown is where the fire people live. So in this little town that they live, there's a subway car or a rail car that's above them, and every time it passes over, it spills water down onto the Ember town, right? Like little town. And it's like, why wouldn't the city fix this? Like, and then there's like a whole bunch of elements with water going on, and it's weird. It's weird. It's weird for a kids movie. I think, like this is a young adult movie. Like I don't know, children should even see this film because it's tackling a lot of bigger topics that, you know, yeah, let's talk about this stuff with young adults and get them educated in these areas and interested in these areas. But for a child, 6 or 7, these are very big concepts to deal with. And if you're there to just try and have your child be entertained for an hour 50, this isn't the movie for it. And like, there is some cool sequences in this film. And once we get introduced to Ember, who is her life goal is to run the family store that her father built up. And the fire community really built up around this store too. So he's a very important, influential person in the community of the fire people. And he wants to pass this on to his daughter. But his daughter is very hot-headed and has a very temper problem. But she doesn't really understand why she has this problem until the story goes onward. She figures out that her lifelong dream isn't the dream that she always thought it was. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to try not to ruin things about that, but you'll see it as she goes. And also, she meets Wade, who is played by Mamoudou Athie. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. And Wade is a bit of a dork, a very wishy-washy. He's a water element. It's very wishy-washy. He cries a lot. He's a city inspector, and that's how he and her first come across each other, because she does a big explosion in her store, and that causes a water leak, and he somehow gets sucked into it, and he starts investigating all these broken pipes and stuff, and he has to write her up for citations. And this is where the relationship begins, very rocky, and she's like, please don't report me, my father will lose the shop. And he's like, I gotta do what I gotta do, and he does this. And then it's kind of like this trials and tribulation of will they, won't they? And she's learning more about the world because she's never been outside of Fireville. She's only been there for her whole life. So because of this city inspector, she has to actually go out and see the rest of the city and kind of interact with everyone and see what's going on here. She starts to not just fall in love with Wade, but she's also falling in love with exploration, the possibility of freedom, and learning more about there's more to this world and life than just this little store of hers, you know? And there's a lot of cool elements, like there's a lot of good story beats in here about that, but it's also stuff we've already seen before. Like, this is a movie that has every element from every other movie that you've already seen, and you've seen it done better in other movies. And that's why this movie is just right in the middle. It's good. Good enough. Good enough to throw it on and stream it. You know what I'm saying? What else is in here? So eventually we do meet other characters in this movie. We come across Gail, who is the big boss, so to speak, at the city. She's the one who approves all the citations and writes out all the tickets and approves everything. She's played by Wendi McLendon-Covey. And she is just there. She's very loud, very boisterous, but she's also like the quest giver in a sense. She's like, if you go and find the problem of why this water is leaking everywhere, then I will get rid of these citations and your shop will be saved. So so Ember and Wade go on this adventure, trying to figure out where the water is. And this is kind of more romance. It's weird, but they figure out how to fix it and they know where the leak is. And Gail eventually approves it, and happiness ensues. But then we also learned more about Wade's family, and it looks like the water people are kind of portrayed as the upper class, the privileged. They can do anything. I think they're the first immigrants to this new city too. There's a little collage that's shown at one point in this movie, where it shows like the water people were first, and then it's like the air people, and then the tree people, earth people, which are trees, and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. There's a weird sequence in this movie where Ember puts herself at risk to go and see this really weird, what is it, Physteria plant that's in this museum. You'll see. It's unwanted conflict. It's kind of weird. And yeah, like, this movie is a lot of movies in one movie, like I've said. And it's not a bad movie. Like, when Ember meets Wade's family for the first time, she kind of gets a taste of what this high society life is. Like, the mom is Catherine O'Hara, whose character's name is Brooke, and she kind of like plants the seeds in the sense of like, you could do whatever you want. You don't have to do what you thought you had to do. The world's your oyster. And like Ember's kind of like, I can't do that. I don't have this privilege like you. I'm in this box. And there's some good story beats in this film. There really is. And there might be some emotional story beats for you as well, because this does deal with interracial relationships. Another theme. There's so many themes going on in this movie, and I'm just kind of sitting there going like, I'm come from an interracial family. My dad was white, when I say was, he passed away, and my mom, she's indigenous, Native American, and so I am a byproduct of that. So yeah, I'm always down for the interracial relationship stories and rom-coms, but it's kind of weird in this one where it's like fire and water, and we all know they don't mix. It's just like, how is this gonna work? But you know what? Watch the movie, you'll find out. It's not bad. I thought the ending is kind of corny, and I was like, I guess these. I don't want to say it. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to ruin it. But the ending is corny, and I'm just like sitting there going, huh? What's going on here? And before I go, I'm going to go because the movie is okay, like I said. And there is good things in this movie. There's corny things in this movie. But overall, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. Like, I didn't leave the theater going, that was a piece of crap. You know what I'm saying? It's just right in the middle, like a perfect flat line. You're either going to enjoy things about it, or you're just going to go, well, I wish I got my time back. You know, it's nothing crazy to see. It's not a must-see movie. I think one thing that I really did enjoy about this movie that kind of makes it stand out just a little bit is I really did enjoy that these characters kind of had powers, not like superpowers or anything, but like abilities. Like, fire people can do these things. Like, she can make glass out of sand, and Wade can like absorb more water and get bigger, and air people can absorb more air and make tornadoes and stuff, and plants can grow things and like sprout stuff. And like, I liked how everyone had abilities, and their abilities were showcased in certain dramatic and action sequencey points in this film, and I liked that. I liked that a lot, actually. And I liked the world that they built was cool. There is Good story beats, like I said. Is there anything that I hate about this film? No, not really. Not really. There's some cringy dialogue and stuff like that. You're just like, oh, that's corny. Like, why'd you write that in there? Like, it's just useless. The characters are cool, like nice and fun. You kind of get into their lifestyle and their world, so it does draw you in pretty good. But you might also think like 2 days from now, after you watch the movie, you probably might have forgotten everything about it. You know what I'm saying? So I do think this movie is more of like a curiosity watch. If you have nothing else to watch and you want to go see something in the theater and you just want to, you know, cheap night it, go for it. Or you could wait till it shows up on streaming and watch it then. I don't think that's a problem. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. Anyways, if you have seen this movie, drop me a comment. I'm out. I'm going to go and try and watch Indiana Jones and No Hard Feelings are the next 2 films I'm going to watch for sure. So I'm out of here. I hope you guys have a good week. Whatever movies you're watching, I hope you're enjoying them. And I'm out, guys. Peace. Bye.